Mr. Hyde is a mysterious tale of a man named Mr. Utterson and the local London community attempting to bring a criminal, Mr. Hyde, to justice. Little do they know, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are one and the same. Robert Louis Stevenson uses Dr. Jekyll's split personality to portray the meaning of human nature. Dr. Jekyll's side represents the humanity and fear, whereas the other half, Mr. Hyde, represents inhumanity. Dr. Jekyll is the well-respected doctor who benefits society, whereas Mr. Hyde is a low-life bumming off the goodness of his counterpart and disrupting society as he pleases. Dr. Jekyll puts up with Hyde's crime until Hyde commits murder of a member in Parliament. Jekyll then tries to stifle the evil residing within him, which only provokes it to break free. By this incident, Stevenson tells that being human is turning a blind eye with danger, being around the corner until it is too dangerous for us, in which escape is inevitable. In the poem London by William Blake, the narrator states, "And the hapless soldiers sigh." The narrator tells that the soldiers sighed and did nothing, that they turned a blind eye because it is dangerous and they didn't care to help, which is like our dear Dr. Jekyll turning a blind eye towards Hyde.
In Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll uses a potion to transform into Mr. Hyde, his evil half, and in doing so, he is freed from all responsibilities. The story is from the point of view of Mr. Utterson, Dr. Jekyll's hired lawyer. Through the story, the identity of Mr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll is revealed to Mr. Utterson through a series of letters, and the final nail in the coffin is when Mr. Utterson finds Mr. Hyde dead in a closet with a note explaining it all. One interpretation is that Dr. Jekyll uses this potion to turn into Mr. Hyde to escape the responsibilities and social pressures that Victorian England imposed upon people. This is evidenced by Dr. Jekyll's self-admitted fascination with being Mr. Hyde. In the poem London by William Blake, the narrator says,
"In every cry of every man, the mind-forged manacles I hear."
The words mind-forged manacles bear similarity to Dr. Jekyll hiding and repressing all of his thoughts. Because Dr. Jekyll needed an escape, he also needed to maintain the facade. In doing so, he created more problems for himself. An example of Dr. Jekyll deceiving is when he tells Mr. Utterson,
"I swear to God I will never set eyes upon him again,"
in reference to Mr. Hyde. Robert Louis Stevenson uses the death of Dr. Jekyll to emphasize the terrible consequences that the rigidity of Victorian society has. The point is made clearer by having Dr. Jekyll, a very intelligent person, driven to madness.
The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde tells the story of the titular character Dorian Gray and his experience with a supernatural portrait that taints his beautiful appearance whenever he commits a sin, which he does a lot. Oscar Wilde establishes his opinion of the theme privilege. In his opinion, the society he lives in gives privilege to those undeserving of it. The titular character Dorian is wealthy, charming, somewhat intelligent, and good-looking. With all those traits, this in turn makes life very easy for Dorian. But his painting reflects his true, flawed personality. He is killed, driven a woman whom he loved to commit suicide, blackmailed, and in general ruined other people's happiness for his own gain. Wilde presents his disgust with society's lack of justice when Lord Henry, a friend of Dorian's, displays his opinion of whether Dorian is capable of murder.
"All crime is vulgar, just as all vulgarity is crime. It is not in you, Dorian, to commit a murder."
Henry also says,
"Crime belongs exclusively to the lowest order."
The irony in this statement is that Dorian has already committed murder. Wilde thus uses irony to show the ridiculousness of the privileged being exempt from their crimes because they are not capable. Wilde wasn't taken seriously as an author at that time due to his open homosexuality, but The Picture of Dorian Gray works as a social commentary. It uses Dorian, a man beloved in society, and makes it known that he too can commit sins. Wilde uses Dorian Gray's tale as a wake-up call to society that stereotypes based off a person's appearance are unjust and it needs to change.
In The Picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde develops a theme that revenge is the perceived outcome of class consciousness. Wilde argues that a significant gap in social class platforms jealousy. This jealousy then culminates in animosity. The Victorian era contained 4 distinct social classes, each with a unique lifestyle. It is easy to see why one would get jealous of the upper class, as they had a defined contrast in clothing, food, and quality of life from the lower class. Wilde best exemplifies this distinct difference in social class through the Vane household and Dorian Gray. Other than Sybil, the Vane household always disliked Dorian. This may have been because Dorian was a little more vain than the Vanes. And his self-importance was directly correlated to his social class. Having never met Dorian, his only knowledge of Dorian being of Dorian's money. James said, "If this man robs my sister, I'll find out who he is, track him down, and kill him like a dog, I swear." Wilde illustrates that James Vane uses revenge as a mere justification for hunting Dorian Gray, and James later masks his true motivation to kill Dorian behind Sybil's death. In the poem London, social classes are underlined as William Blake tells the time of a man walking through the streets among the lower and unsophisticated class. The description he uses suggests he is part of a higher class, which is shown in line 3 and 4 when he says, "And a mark in every face I meet, marks of weakness, marks of wealth." This is drawn back to the Victorian era, as the working class were very unorthodox compared to the upper class. This could also be seen as social Darwinism, which was created by Charles Darwin in this time period, saying that the rich have achieved the right to rule the poor. This is parallel to Dorian Gray as it contextualizes distinct differences in social class.